Anamorphic lenses are incredible. They're beautiful, they're cinematic, and they're expensive. But sometimes, they're a complete waste of money. And on this shoot, let me tell you why. Here, let's get into it. A few years ago, I shot in a Whiteside studio using some of the most expensive and yet beautiful anamorphic lenses in the world. But you couldn't see a single benefit. And here's why. First, some coffee. The Roastery Casey Kingdom blend. Glue this? Where did they glue this? Today's sponsor of the video is Horizon Cine Lenses. It's a camera and lens rental house out in St. Louis. You should check them out. Type in horizoncineglass.com and you'll get there. You see, anamorphic lenses are a tool. Depending on where you're shooting, they do offer you a cinematic look. Anamorphic lenses are known for their oval bokeh, for their horizontal flares, many of them with their character distortions. I'm on a 15mm lens right now, and so it's very distorted on these edges. Anamorphic lenses love depth, they love layers. They take a frame, compress it, and they allow you to get closer to a subject, but yet still maintain a wider atmosphere so that an audience can see and understand where they are in a scene. Anamorphic lenses, when used right, can definitely add value to your shoots. And in this exact example, it did not add any value. In fact, it was the most expensive thing on the rental list and something that I think we intended to do and get the most out of, but unfortunately, just based on where we were shooting and how things have changed in the frame, we weren't able to really reap any of the benefits. You see, we were shooting in a Whiteside studio on white walls that we evenly lit, doing interview subjects with 3 cameras. Because the lenses were so expensive, we had to go with some Blackmagic Ursa Mini 4.6K Pro cameras paired with a full set of anamorphic lenses where we were getting a master medium, kind of an insert close-up where we even jumped in with diopters to follow some of this action, and then just a kind of profile, side profile shot just to keep some interest. And that's where we were able to at least convince the clients to sneak in some practical lamps into the frame using a 9x light, dimmed way down to try to give some character and some hint. Where I think one of the original topics for this shoot was we were gonna have a lot more practicals in the frame to just kind of break it up and make it give something the anamorphic lenses can react to. We ended up going with a clean Whiteside. You've seen anamorphic lenses without you even knowing you've been seeing it. It's shot most of your favorite movies, many of your favorite movies. It does give you, I guess one of the easiest ways to think about it for anyone who doesn't know, it's when you look at a movie and you see the black bars on top and bottom. That's one of the quick ways to know about it, but here's a few more. So the director saw one of my projects and said, I want that. We had this shoot coming up and I love the way that looks. What'd you shoot those on? I said, well, we shot those on Area Master Anamorphics. And they're great lenses, they're tack sharp, they open up to a T19. They're easy to use, they're relatively compact. But to my surprise, shooting anamorphic lenses on a Whiteside studio with nothing in frame doesn't really give you too much. I will say the close-ups when you brought the camera in and you're able to use diopter, or potentially, I'm not sure if the close focus was good enough without a diopter, but you were able to get a visual look that a spherical lens just doesn't give you. And that's a look where you get more environment with an anamorphic lens. It's been said that you can use spherical lenses and just put the aspect ratio bars, the top black bars on top and bottom, also relatively known as the 2:39:1 aspect ratio look that most anamorphic lenses give you. Many of them give 2:1, and many of them give a bunch of different ratios in between. We don't need to get in the weeds of that. But the spherical look, with just using that kind of aspect ratio, when you take a 50mm spherical lens and you put it in the same distance as a 50mm anamorphic lens and you try to get that same look, the compression is not the same. If you need to get that same width that you're trying to look for, the spherical, you're going to have to push it further back. These are some of my favorite lenses and I have shot some beautiful projects with them. But if you're about to shoot anamorphic lenses maybe for the first time, and now there's more options than ever before, from compact anamorphic lenses to old vintage ones, I have one pro tip for you that you don't want to miss out on. When shooting anamorphic, the minimum focus distance for most of the lenses isn't as close as most of your spherical lenses. If you get an anamorphic lens under 3 feet of distance, that's considered a pretty good focus distance. So the pro tip is get yourself some diopters. Make sure you show up on any anamorphic lens shoot with a set of diopters to go in your matte box to increase that close focus. Now, diopters can be tricky sometimes if you use too strong of diopters, it means you're losing out on how deep you can look in your focus. So you have to use anamorphic lenses wisely, and they're just a tool, and often they're not the right tool for every job. Yes, do you get cool looks out of them pretty much right out of the gate? Yeah. And many of the times we choose anamorphic lenses on certain commercial or corporate shoots who are saying, hey, I want it to look cinematic. We're like, okay, well, most cameras are shot on spherical lenses, and so you've seen that look a lot. What you haven't quite seen, unless you've been in the movie theaters, is the ones with anamorphic lenses. Is a simple way to think about it, not the scientific way to think about it. Don't sleep on diopters. Get a wide range from fractions of strengths all the way up to 1 or 2 plus of strengths. You're gonna need to get a real matte box, none of this cheap stuff. This one serves its purpose for this little setup, and that's okay. But for a real shoot, get yourself a bright tangerine, get yourself an airy matte box. All right, back to it. The biggest budget killer on set isn't gear, it's misaligned gear. Cameras matter, lenses matter, but if misaligned, that's when things begin to fall apart and mud begins to burn. Anamorphic lenses aren't magic, but they are quote unquote cinematic, mainly because you recognize them from the top and bottom black bars. But that has to do with how the lenses are designed in an oval shape, squeezing an image so that you can stretch it in post. These lenses were used back in the Western days and have been used ever since. But for this shoot, the lenses were a little misaligned. We had intentions of shooting additional B-roll, we had intentions of adding more props in frame. What we ended up having to go with was with a clean white cyc. Now, can we blame this all on sound? Yeah, you can always blame it on sound. But if you want to see more projects that were used properly with the right anamorphic, spherical, and zooms and whatnot, you can check out stevensecrethouse.com. Thanks for watching. Peace. It's cold in here. It is 22 degrees, it feels like 16.